What would you do if your 5-year-old son suddenly claimed to be Napoleon Bonaparte? And what if he could prove it? In the dusty archives of the Bibliothèque Nationale de France lies a file that has baffled historians and psychologists for over 2 centuries. A case that challenges everything we think we know about reincarnation, memory, and the nature of human consciousness. It all began on a crisp autumn morning in 1814 in the quaint village of Ajaccio on the island of Corsica. The salty Mediterranean breeze carried the scent of wild myrtle and rosemary dancing through the narrow cobblestone streets. In a modest stone house overlooking the azure waters of the Gulf of Ajaccio, the Bonaparte family lived a life of quiet respectability. Carlo Bonaparte, a 38-year-old lawyer, and his wife Letizia, a strong-willed 34-year-old woman, had been blessed with 8 children, each more precocious than the last. Young Charles Louis was their latest addition, a boy with piercing blue eyes and a mop of unruly brown hair that seemed to defy any attempt at taming. That morning, as Letizia kneaded dough for the day's bread, the warm aroma of yeast filled the kitchen. The rhythmic sound of her hands working the dough blended with the distant tolling of church bells, creating a symphony of domestic tranquility. Charles Louis sat at the worn wooden table, his legs swinging freely as he struggled to reach the floor. His small hands clutched a piece of charcoal, furiously scribbling on a scrap of parchment. His brow furrowed in concentration, oblivious to the world around him. Suddenly, the boy's head snapped up. His eyes, usually full of childish wonder, now held a depth and intensity that sent a chill down Letizia's spine. In a voice that seemed to belong to a much older man, Charles Louis declared, "Maman, I remember now, I am Napoleon Bonaparte, Emperor of France." Letizia's hands froze mid-knead. The dough fell to the floor with a dull thud. Forgotten. She turned slowly, her face a mask of confusion and disbelief. "What did you say, mon petit?" But Charles Louis was no longer there. In his place sat a figure of regal bearing, his posture straight and commanding. When he spoke again, his childish lisp had vanished, replaced by the crisp, authoritative tones of a military leader. "I have returned, maman. The Battle of Waterloo. It was a mistake. I should have never trusted Grouchy, but now I have been given another chance. I must reclaim my empire." Letizia stumbled backward, her hand clutching her chest. This couldn't be happening. Her sweet, innocent Charles Louis couldn't possibly know about Waterloo, about Grouchy's fatal delay. These were events that hadn't even occurred yet, battles that would not be fought for another year. As the days passed, Charles Louis, or Napoleon as he now insisted on being called, began to display knowledge and skills far beyond his years. He drew detailed maps of Paris from memory, despite never having left Corsica. He spoke fluent French with a Corsican accent, a language he had never been taught. He recited battle strategies and diplomatic negotiations with the precision of a seasoned general and statesman. Word of the child prodigy spread quickly through Ajaccio. Curious neighbors and skeptical officials flocked to the Bonaparte home, eager to witness the phenomenon for themselves. Each visitor left more bewildered than the last, unable to explain how a 5-year-old boy could possess such encyclopedic knowledge of recent history and complex military tactics. But it was Dr. Antoine Visavona, a respected physician and amateur historian, who provided the most compelling evidence. After extensive interviews with Charles Louis, he presented a sealed envelope to Carlo Bonaparte. Inside was a list of questions about Napoleon's life, intimate details that only the emperor himself would know. With trembling hands, Carlo read the questions aloud. To the astonishment of all present, Charles Louis answered each one without hesitation. He described the secret tunnel beneath the Tuileries Palace, the contents of a private letter to Josephine that had never been made public, and the exact words spoken to him by Pope Pius VII during his coronation. As the final question was answered, a hushed silence fell over the room. Dr. Visavona's face had turned pale, his notebook slipping from nerveless fingers. "It's impossible," he whispered. "No one could have known all of this. No one except—" He couldn't finish the sentence. The implications were too staggering to contemplate. What do you think? Could this child really be the reincarnation of Napoleon Bonaparte? Subscribe now and share your thoughts in the comments below. The case of Charles Louis Bonaparte soon caught the attention of the French government. Agents were dispatched to Corsica, ostensibly to investigate claims of a potential heir to the Bonapartist legacy. What they found both thrilled and terrified them. Charles Louis didn't just know facts about Napoleon's life. He embodied the emperor's very essence. He paced restlessly as he dictated battle plans, his tiny hand gesturing emphatically as he described troop movements with the confidence of a seasoned commander. He spoke of Josephine with a mixture of fondness and exasperation that seemed far too complex for a child's understanding of relationships. But it was during a visit from a high-ranking military official that Charles Louis provided the most chilling demonstration of his claimed identity. As the officer entered the room, the boy's demeanor changed instantly. He stood ramrod straight, his chin lifted in defiance. "General Murat," he said, his voice cold with barely contained fury, "you betrayed me. You, who I raised from nothing, turned your back on France in our hour of need." The color drained from the general's face. He had indeed been Joachim Murat, Napoleon's brother-in-law, and one of his most trusted marshals. But he had switched sides during Napoleon's first exile, a betrayal known only to a handful of people at the highest levels of government. How could you possibly know that?" Murat stammered, his composure shattered. Charles Louis fixed him with a steely gaze. "I know everything, Joachim. I remember it all." The implications of this encounter sent shockwaves through the French political establishment. If this child truly possessed Napoleon's memories and tactical genius, he could potentially reshape the balance of power in Europe. Some saw him as a threat to be neutralized, while others viewed him as an opportunity to restore France to its former glory. As news of the Corsican wonder spread, it attracted the attention of scientists, philosophers, and religious leaders from across the continent. Each brought their own perspective to the phenomenon, seeking to explain the inexplicable. Dr. Franz Anton Mesmer, the controversial pioneer of animal magnetism, proposed that Charles Louis had somehow tapped into a universal fluid that contained the memories of all living beings. He argued that the boy was acting as a conduit for Napoleon's consciousness, which had not fully dissipated after death. The Catholic Church sent a delegation of exorcists, fearing demonic possession, but their prayers and rituals had no effect on Charles Louis, who regarded their efforts with the same mixture of amusement and irritation that Napoleon had shown towards religious authorities. Perhaps the most intriguing theory came from a young Carl Jung, then a student of psychiatry. He suggested that Charles Louis might be accessing what he called the collective unconscious, a shared repository of human experiences and archetypes. Napoleon, Jung argued, had become such a powerful symbol that his essence had imprinted itself on the collective psyche, allowing a sensitive child to channel his personality and memories. As the years passed, Charles Louis's connection to Napoleon seemed to wax and wane. There were days when he was simply a normal boy, playing with toy soldiers and begging for sweets. But then, often triggered by some external event or mention of French politics, the emperor would resurface, issuing proclamations and outlining strategies for campaigns that would never be fought. The question that haunted everyone who encountered Charles Louis was this: if he truly was Napoleon reborn, what purpose did this second chance serve? Was he meant to lead France to new heights of glory, or was this a cosmic opportunity for redemption, a chance to right the wrongs of his previous life? As Charles Louis approached adulthood, the world watched with bated breath. Would he attempt to reclaim his former empire, or would the memories and drives of Napoleon fade, leaving behind only a man with an extraordinary childhood? The answer, it seemed, lay locked within the mind of a boy who straddled 2 centuries, 2 identities, and perhaps even 2 souls. What's your theory about Charles Louis Bonaparte? Was he truly Napoleon reincarnated, or is there another explanation for his incredible knowledge and abilities? Subscribe now and share your thoughts in the comments. Together, we might just unravel one of history's greatest mysteries.